Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and we are a couple of days removed from the Festival of Legends launch, and I can safely recommend at least a few of these decks, but we're gonna recommend 10 decks that you can take and reasonably expect to climb in either standard or wild. I will say which ones are, like, you know, a lot safer than the others, as the meta is still really fresh, still evolving. Also, there seems to be some clear outliers that are kicking some serious butt, and well, I want to recommend them to you before they may or may not get nerfed. As we'll probably talk about tomorrow, the devs are basically hinting that there could be nerfs really soon, as a tweet outlined here by Aliko Gariko. Again, we'll talk about that, what that could mean for both standard and possibly wild. And well, you don't want to miss that video, and you also want to help us get to 69,420 subs. If you feel like I've earned your subscription, please hit that sub button down below. Give the video a like. We've got a fun giveaway planned for that milestone, so don't miss out on it. Anyways, let's go over the decks, and I will say right away, I lied. It's not 10, it's actually 11, because I threw a bonus standard one in, because I feel like the standard stuff is so, like, it's like the prior expansion never left, at least if you're a Deathlight player, because yes, the #1 deck I have to recommend, I got Legend with it, a lot of people have got Legend with it, the win rate is insane, is Blood Deathlight. Renathal is back in a big way, as this looks like it is the best deck in standard. Even at high Legend, it's the one to beat so far. And well, what new cards did it get to put it over the top? Well, I don't think any of the new cards really put it over the top. It's basically very similar to the same deck, but Deathlight didn't lose anything at rotation, so it keeps all of its really good stuff that was built to be strong enough to compete with a full standard rotation of cards. So yes, you have your stuff in here like Patchwork, Mograine, you know, your late game stuff. You have new cards in here though. Ghost Rider, get you some extra value. You know, Deathlight spells are absurd. You have Screaming Banshee, the card that has probably surprised me the most. Just the body on board, it's good lifesteal, and you can just get board presence, and it's doing very well. And I think the other new card we have in here is also doing really well, Arcanite Ripper, which basically every time you take damage or heal, you basically buff up a token, and it gets bigger and bigger, and it has lifesteal, lets you fight for board and also recover some health, as well as a new addition from the core set of Tour Guide. But yeah, basically it's the same deck from pre-rotation, it's just at a whole different power level when everything else has gotten a lot worse. The other deck I want to recommend was the other deck we got to Legend. I played on stream yesterday. I went 7-1 with Outcast Demon Hunter, and I think I just finished the deal with Blood Decay and went like 2-0. But Outcast Demon Hunter also incredibly good, and this is much newer. A lot of cool cards, a lot of new stuff, and again, some of the stuff might get nerfed. It might happen again, so be aware of that if you are thinking of crafting. But this deck is just unreal with the new addition of Glaivetar in particular. This can just rip through your entire deck, but ironically, not even one of the best cards in the deck. Just playing this card on one, Outcasted, pretty busted, and it's not exactly a new card. You see Bibliomite in here. This card has surprised me. It allows you to basically manipulate your hand, get rid of clunky cards, and also develop a 2-mana 5/4. Really good tempo early on, and you know, you're generating value with Wretched Exile, which all of a sudden isn't really generating bad Outcast cards anymore. Lady Athena is in there for some real lethality. You can save up spells and do just disgusting stuff with it. And of course, you have Rush the Stage, which tutor out like your Walloper, and also Fellerin, all of a sudden, really good card now, as it basically almost guarantees you 2 playable cards that can buff up your other cards. And Pozic I threw in here, and it's been really good. You just slam it. It's really hard for people to deal with, and then you get really good chip damage in there. And by the way, it's not golden because you got to be on the rewards track like level 50 something. It's driving me crazy. Anyways, Outcast Demon Hunter, really, really good deck. These are by far the 2 safest crafts are these 2 decks. The next 2 decks here are also pretty damn safe crafts, and again, very similar to pre-rotation. You're seeing a trend here of decks that were just really strong before the expansion came out. Frost Death Knight with 1 new card, and you got Hardcore Cultist. Some people have cut it, and it might not even be optimal, but it's literally just Frost DK. We've talked about it a lot, but I have to recommend it. The win rate on the deck is really strong, and there's a good chance you have a lot of these cards. It's one of the nice things, I guess, about Deathlight being a little too good. Again, we'll talk about this stuff tomorrow. I do have my concerns and all of that about the meta, but I want to give you guys decks to try out. And yes, it just does the usual stuff. Frostorb's Fury is just disgusting. You got Mirror Manipulator to deal damage, and it still runs that whole egg package because of Construct Quarter. But again, I gotta recommend it, and there's a good shot you got a lot of the cards. And by the way, I believe already Path of Arthas is back in the shop if you were looking at getting that. And then Pure Paladin. Pure Paladin's got a few new cool tools in there, as well as the Puritor, Countess Light, right, all of that. But we got the Jitterbug. Really allows you to draw a lot of cards, which Paladin can struggle with. Getting those Divine Shield draws in, really good. Funkin is in there to buff everything up, give you some extra lethality, some bloodlust ability. You got the Boogie Down, which helps you just thin your deck. Get those cards from the, those 1-drops out of your deck on the board. They get Taunt, which is almost pretty relevant, sometimes relevant, but overall it's not too bad at all. And Disco Maul, which is just, it can create so much absurd stats. Like you have a Sinful Sous Chef die, and you have the recruits in your hand, you just spam them. Disco Maul, I think I was watching Cantaloupe play tonight, and he gave one of his minions plus 23, and then lost because he was facing a Death Knight that killed it no problem, but still, it was pretty darn impressive. And these last two, I really can't recommend too heavily. Even like this deck I'm showing here, which I played a lot day one, has fallen off quite a bit, but I want to recommend it if you want to give it a try. It's not cheap, but basically it's a Control Priest built to just kind of outlast other decks. You have your Infinite Value here, Sister Svalna. You can discount all those spells, of course, with Love Everlasting. Whirlpool is in here to try and deal with like the Tony Jailer shenanigans of the world. Got Harmonic Pop, which is a real good AoE. I see this deck getting a lot better after probably other stuff gets dialed back, because it's really close. It feels like a very traditional style of control deck outside of like the infinite value, of course, of Sister Svalna. And we got Dirty Rat in here to try and disrupt, the Mograines of the world, or again, Jailers and Tonys and all of that. I really enjoyed playing this. It reminds me of when I actually used to enjoy playing Priest, and it wasn't just about infinite random crap from Raised Deads and Scorpions and all this stuff, and now it's about infinite random crap from Sister Svalna. I'm a hypocrite, but I do enjoy the deck. And the last standard recommendation I'll throw out there, Totem Shaman. The numbers are pretty decent on this deck, but I do feel like it probably gets bullied pretty hard by Blood DK if you're running into that a lot, but got a lot of new cool tools, and of course, it's got Jive Insect. That card is rad. It's 5 mana, I guess 7 mana Ragnaros with the Overload, but you can spam the board, do really powerful stuff, of course, with Clownfish, and especially get a bunch of stuff on the board with Rockgill, really strong stuff. And you got new core set additions to here, like Thing from Below. You've got Grand Totem Izor, so a lot of the new stuff in here is free from the core set, so that should help you out if you want to give that a go. Okay, I actually lied. I'm adding one more. I just saw Ridiculous Hat get Legend with it, and I thought you guys might enjoy it if you want to go the real degen Druid route, try and counter some of these Death Knights and all of that, where yes, we have Druid here going Jailer, Tony King of Piracy. You can cheat it all out with the new Brecon. There's ordering stuff you can do to be kind of fancy, where you new Brecon, you flip the deck with Tony first, then delete it, and then silence it to flip it back, so that even if they kill your Tony, well, their deck is gone. It's pretty troll deck, and you got the hero power package to try and get you there to survive. So if you want to give this a go, that's like the 12th deck, although I will probably end the video saying it's 11 total because I just had to throw in one more for you guys. And Wild, Wild's a complete mess. It's an utter mess. This deck, rank 1 by Corbett, it's just it's really good. Any Druid deck. I've been achievement hunting with Druid. You just need Twig and Sphere, the weapon tutors, and you can pretty much do whatever you want. It doesn't really matter what the build around is. Who knows what's ideal, but as long as you're running Twig Sphere, your tutors, Guff, and a win condition, you can win games. But this is a pretty good way to go with your Bran Astalor and Nubricon combo. You got Alex Straws in there in case something goes wrong. Busted deck. It's defining the Wild meta right now, and might get addressed sooner than later, I'm hoping. One of the counters highlighted by Meaty Ogre is just pure, no new card Shadow Priest. Just go face with Shadow Priest. You probably have a lot of these cards already. There's no new cards in here. You just smork, play Pirates, and try and kill the Druid before they do their thing. Also wanted to highlight Renathal Kingsbane. Basically, there's a bunch of new weapon buffs added, like Mic Drop and Harmonic Hip Hop. I'm seeing Kingsbanes being made reliably like 10, 11, 12 attack by turns 4 and 5. So they addressed like Druid, Rogue's gonna be a problem, but then there's all these other things. We're gonna talk about that tomorrow too. Wild seems completely broken beyond just Druid. Druid's the worst defender right now, but I feel like we're hitting a certain point of there's like no return. But yeah, it's a solid, fun Kingsbane deck that you just build a giant weapon, you rip through your deck. Even though you have 40 cards, it's not too hard, and you have so many tutors now with Raiding Party, Instrument Tech, Shiny Finder. It really isn't that hard to get your weapon, so the deck looked pretty fun to play, not so much face, so I will recommend it. I also will recommend Secret Mage with no new cards, because it's Secret Mage, and you can disrupt stuff like Druid. You can disrupt a lot of these decks. It's Secret Mage. It's always good, so I could safely recommend it. And lastly, I'll just throw this out there for those Inner Fire enthusiasts. This list got rank 1 a couple of days, or like not a couple of days ago, yesterday, with Inner Fire Priest without Inner Fire. Uses Bless, but you have new Crimson Clergy in here that allows you to draw really heavily and then just buff something up and kill somebody. So you can see the meta. It's really about murdering as fast as you can in Wild, because the Druid will kill you by like turns 5 and 6 with Twig Sphere. So I honestly, for deck like crafting recommendations for Wild, I don't recommend anything right now. Druid might get addressed and you'll get like almost nothing back for it, because it might be just Twig or some offshoot of a card like that. But I mean, these other decks are probably going to be pretty consistently good. But overall, again, craft at your own risk. But there are 11 decks for you guys to try out, and I do think you should be able to have some success, whether, you know, getting to Diamond, Gold, Silver, or maybe Legend for the first time. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day, and stay salty, my friends.